Hi, welcome back to another episode of Pet Pals. I'm Bethany Davidson, the Humane Educator here at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center, and I'm joined by our volunteer coordinator, Sean Snyder. And we have a ton of new pets to introduce you to today. And the first one is Hazel, and she is one of our pit bull mixes. And she's been with us since the end of July, and a lot of pit bull mixes kind of struggle to find homes. And she's also a little bit older at 5 to 6, which can make it a little bit more challenging. But she's an incredibly sweet dog. She walks really nicely on leash. She's very affectionate. She is starting to play with some toys. She has a lot of great qualities. And because she's not a puppy, that's a selling point for me, because that means she's not going to be jumping up on you all the time. You're not really going to be dealing with as many difficulties with house training. So there's a lot of great qualities to getting a dog that's a little bit older like Hazel.
Would Hazel do well in a multi-dog home?
So Hazel's been hit or miss here with some of our other dogs. You know, it really just depends on how they're interacting with her. If they are kind of easygoing, relaxed, or ignoring her, they're positive, then she's been positive with them. If they have been a little bit more rambunctious or maybe weren't as interested in her, they kind of had a negative attitude, then she reciprocated as such. But whenever you're adopting a dog from us and you have an existing dog, it is actually a requirement that you bring your dog to our facility. We try to pick kind of a neutral area outside, and then we'll do some parallel walking, kind of a dog-to-dog meet and greet to see if the two dogs are going to get along. It's not always a 100% indicator of how they'll be in a home, but it's definitely going to let you know if it's something that with a little bit of management and training and just some counter conditioning, those types of things, if it'll work out for you.
Hazel was relinquished by her owner. Why was that?
So Hazel was actually given to someone else, and then that person, after a period of time, brought her to the shelter. And the reason that person stated they had him in the first place was because of the breed. The dog wasn't allowed to be in the home. So if you're looking to adopt a pit bull and you rent, or you have a homeowners association, any of those types of things, you want to make sure that you're doing some research to find out if you're allowed to have that breed in that home. Sometimes your homeowner's insurance will go up. So just making sure that that's a breed that is not going to affect you in a negative way, because unfortunately a lot of pit bulls are on those restricted lists, so they can't live in like a lot of apartments. Other dogs that can be on that list sometimes are German Shepherds, Rottweilers. So you just want to make sure that you're always following up with your landlord or your homeowners association before you're jumping in to adopting a dog, just to make sure that you're not going to have to do what this person had to do and then pretty quickly after rehome them. If you're interested in Hazel, you can always find more information about her by visiting us, and you can make an appointment to do that by going to visit fcac.as.me. Our next dog is actually our oldest dog on the adoption floor right now. This is Queenie, and we're estimating her age to be anywhere from 10 to 12 years old. She came to us as a stray, so we don't have a definitive number on that. And anytime that you're adopting a senior dog, you are going to get some medical, and Queenie definitely has a few things going on. She has some arthritis, so you'll notice like her gait is a little bit odd. So she's on some medication to help with that. She also is going to be in need of a dental surgery to kind of help with her teeth. So we've noticed some issues with her vision. She can kind of see and she can navigate where she's going, but it seems as if there's maybe some depth perception issues. She can't see, her focus is a little bit off. But otherwise, she's a very sweet dog. She loves to be petted and cuddled. As you can see, she also is a huge fan of treats. She loves to get some treats, and she's actually her best self when she's outside. She loves to be outside, walking around, being in the grass. She's just probably the happiest when she's out on her walks. She was found actually walking around the fairgrounds. So whether she was an outside dog or an inside dog, we're not really sure, but she definitely loves to be outside.
Queenie wears a shirt throughout the day. Why is that?
So Queenie is a pretty anxious dog, and the shirt that she's wearing is called a thunder shirt. So it's a compression shirt, which allows her to feel a little bit more relaxed. It's kind of like when you swaddle a baby. It just kind of relieves that stress, makes her a little less upset throughout the day. It's just one of the many things that we can do to help make her stay here as comfortable as possible. But because she is an anxious dog, any potential adopter is going to want to take that into consideration as well. You know, what are you going to do to help her? Are you going to, you know, talk to your vet? Are you going to use medication? Are you going to work with an animal behaviorist? So there's a lot of different factors that you want to take into consideration when you meet Queenie.
One of the shelter's animal control officers took her home for a few days. What did we learn from that home visit?
So we learned a lot of things from that visit. So Queenie does tend to pace a lot, even in a home environment. So we're not sure exactly how long it's going to take her to settle in. But she wasn't there for very long because while she did really well with a young child, a young toddler, and she did great with the cats in the house, she did exhibit a little bit of resource guarding behavior with the other dogs in the home. So for that reason, we have recommended that she be the only dog in your household. So that might take her a little bit longer to find a forever home with that restriction, but we're going to keep her here until we can find a good rescue for her or a good adopter. Again, if you're interested in getting some more information about Queenie, you can always visit, but you can also email us at animalcontrol@frederickcountymd.gov to get some to read her medical profiles and things like that. Our next dog is going to be the youngest dog that we're featuring on the show today. This is Tanner, and he's about 8 to 10 months old, and as you can see, as a younger dog, he has a lot more energy than maybe some of the older guys that we have featured. He loves to play. He loves to run around. He is a dog that's going to need a little bit of work on his manners. Just, you know, learning it's not polite to jump up on people. It's not nice to necessarily pull on our leash. You know, what can and can I not be on. But he does know a very nice sit, and he is overall just a really sweet, loving, and affectionate dog. It's kind of, he has a very unique look. A lot of people on Facebook are already commenting on how cute he is. He has really dark eyes, and he's got these really kind of big, flat feet. So he's just a sweet guy. Right now, he's housed on our new dog side. So when you come into the shelter and you're looking, you're going to walk down the main row of dogs, but you actually have to go into a second room to see Tanner and a couple of the other dogs that are available for adoption right now.
Tanner looks familiar. Has he been at the shelter before?
Actually, Tanner was adopted about 2 months ago. Back then, his name was Howie, and unfortunately, his owner took ill and was unable to care for him, so he brought him back to us. And a lot of people are like, oh, he brought him back, but that's actually what we tell people we would like them to do. If for any reason you're unable to keep a pet that you've adopted from us and you're not able to find a suitable home placement with a friend or a family member or something like that, instead of taking them just to any other shelter, we would actually prefer that you bring them back here to us so that we can make sure that they're going to get the care that they need and also find them another loving forever home.
So since Tanner's under a year old, is there a different process to adopt him?
So we have what we call puppy process, and the puppy process has changed a little bit over the last couple of years with COVID. It used to be that there was an extended application for puppies and that we asked you more questions. Now we ask all those same puppy questions for all of our adopted dogs, but the thing with puppies that's going to be different is that the adoption fee is different. Puppies are adopted for a fee of $150 as opposed to the normal $92.50, and that's because you know, puppies do have some additional vaccinations and things like that that they need, but also puppies are a much bigger responsibility, and we want people to be aware of that. And sometimes adding a little bit of the cost to that puts more of an investment in the dog. People understand that there's going to be a little bit more of a commitment when you're doing that. But we do take 4 applications for all of our adoptable dogs, and it's always the best fit. So just because, you know, he's a puppy and you put in your first application, you're the first one, doesn't necessarily guarantee that you'll be able to adopt Tanner. We want to make sure that we're finding him the best home that's going to give him all the training and love that he really needs. If you want to visit with Tanner, you're going to do that by going to our booking website, which is visitfcac.as.me, and you can pick through a variety of times to come and hang out with this guy. So our next dog is one of the many hound dogs that we have on the adoption floor right now. And he is a little bit older at 5 to 6. He too came to us as a stray. a lot of people may not be aware that when people bring us stray dogs or cats, we do keep any of those stray animals for a period of 5 days to allow owners a chance to come forward and claim them. We also post pictures on our website to make sure that people have plenty of opportunity to view those. If you think that you have a lost cat dog, it's always a good idea to file a loss report with us, but also to come in and look and see if your animal may be here with us. Unfortunately, no one came forward to claim Gus, so we went ahead and processed him and made him available for adoption. And he's one of the easier dogs on the floor. He's very calm, he's very gentle, he walks pretty nicely on a leash, he knows how to sit, he takes treats fairly nicely, he enjoys affection, as you can see. So there's a ton of great qualities about Gus.
As a calm older dog, what type of family would be a good fit for him?
So because of his demeanor, he's going to be a great dog for any family. We don't have any age restrictions on him as far as what types of, what ages of children can live in the house. And because he's so calm and gentle, that is a kind of a good situation to have in a household with kids. He's not trying to jump up on them. He's not knocking them over. He's also going to be a great dog for people who are maybe considering getting a dog for the very first time. If you don't have a lot of dog experience, a dog that sits nicely, walks nicely on a leash, he doesn't have any issues. He keeps his kennel fairly clean, so trying to kind of housebreak him in your routine is going to be fairly easy. So he's not a project dog, he's more of a turnkey dog, which makes him great for that person who's not as dog savvy.
If someone was interested in Gus or any kind of hound, what should they know about the breed?
So first off, hounds, Gus is not one of our talkers, but hounds can be a little bit louder, sometimes not the best fit for apartment life because they like to bark and bay. But also one of the big things about hounds is that they always follow their nose. That's what they're bred for. So you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence in terms of keeping them outside. The invisible fences typically aren't great with hound dogs because they'll just run right through them to chase whatever rabbit or squirrel that they're after that they smell. You want to make sure that your fences are protected, that they can't dig under them. Those types of things are really big concerns that you want to look at when you're thinking about taking a hound. And it's not always every hound that's going to do those things, but as a general rule, they're kind of good things to look for. And there's tons of websites online that talk about general hound behaviors. And for Gus, we don't know what specific breed of hound he is. He's kind of a Heinz 57 of the hound mix, but he may have some of those qualities that you want to be aware of. If you're interested in getting some more information on Gus, you can visit. You can call at 301-600-1546 and talk to someone about him. Or again, you can email us for more information at animalcontrol@frederickcountymd.gov. Our first cat today is a cat that you won't see when you're just visiting the adoption floor. Pope is in a different area, and he's probably one of the most beautiful cats we've had in quite some time. I always tell him he's like the king of the whiskers. He has these really great long whiskers that have this great curl at the end. He's just a really handsome guy. He has those big tomcat cheeks and the big furry fluffy tail. He has a lot going for him in terms of just his physical appearance, but he has a great personality as well. He is very playful, he's very affectionate. He's a cat that's perfectly comfortable being held and cuddled. He'll sit on your lap, but he does also have a little bit of a sassy streak, so he has a lot of character. He gets hangry if he's not fed promptly in the morning. And when he wants to do something, if you're kind of restricting him, he can be a little bit stubborn and it's like, no, I want to go do what I want to go do. But he's a young cat, so he's going to be with the family for quite some time at just a year old. And he's just a really fun, entertaining guy. He's definitely a cat that's going to have a presence in your household and feel like part of the family.
So we know Pope doesn't prefer the company of other cats, but how does he feel about dogs?
So that's the reason why Pope doesn't actually live on the adoption floor, is because he has a very strong dislike of other cats. So we keep him separate for his level of comfort and the other animals as well. But he actually came to us from a household with dogs, actually really big dogs. We're talking 100-pound cane corsos. So he loves dogs. He gets really excited when he sees a dog. He would be best suited for a home with a dog to kind of be his companion and his friend. And it should be a pretty easy transition if you were to add Pope to a household with dogs.
So Pope arrived at the shelter due to a death in the family. How can someone plan ahead and prevent such an unfortunate circumstance for themselves?
Sure. So that actually is something that we see fairly frequently. There's a couple of animals on the adoption floor that are here for kind of similar reasons. And just like people plan for their children and their homes and all of these types of things, you can plan for the future of your pets. You can ask your friends and family, if something were to happen to me, would you be able to take on the responsibility of my pet? A lot of people leave information and instructions for their pets in their wills, so that they know that it's not going to fall on some unsuspecting family member to try to figure out, what am I going to do with this animal? And then a lot of times they try to take them on and they just don't get along with their pets, and it can be a bit of an issue, and then the animals unfortunately make their way here. So there is some planning that a lot of people can do to make it a little bit easier for all involved if that tragic circumstance were to present itself. Because Pope is not on our adoption floor, if you were interested in meeting with him, you would want to talk to the ladies that work at our front desk so that they can arrange for one of our members of the kennel staff to take you to whatever area of the facility that Pope is currently living in, so you're able to interact with him. Our next guest is Falco, and he is another one of our animals that arrived to us as a stray. He's been with us for a little bit longer than he's been on the adoption floor because he was in the back. We wanted to check out on some things. He had some kind of scrapes on him. We wanted to make sure that those scrapes and that hair loss wasn't part of ringworm, things like that. But he's gotten the all clear, and in the last couple of days has moved out onto the adoption floor. We're listing him as about 3 to 4 years old, and he's a very kind of initially just a tiny bit timid, but then once he gets comfortable with you, he's very affectionate. He's really enjoys petting and the attention that he's been getting from the staff and the volunteers, and because he is just a beautiful cat, he's going to get a lot of attention, but still that's really hard for our adult cats right now when there's tons of kittens. So if you're looking for something that's going to stand out and be a little bit more unique, still a young enough cat that he's going to be with you for a long period of time, why don't you check out Falco? He has a lot of great qualities that are going to make him a great addition to a family.
So deafness is associated with white cats, white animals in general. Is that a concern with Falco?
So right now it's not something that we are concerned about. There's nothing in his medical record that indicates that we have a feeling that he has any of those issues. And if you're looking at white cats, when they have 2 blue eyes, that's when you're going to see the high likelihood of deafness. It's about 65 to 85% of cats with white cats with 2 blue eyes that are deaf in some manner. And then the percentage goes down a little bit, but it's still higher if they have 1 blue eye and 1 different colored eye. But he has 2 kind of yellow amber colored eyes, and the percentage of deafness in cats like him is going to be from 17 to 22%, and that's really not something that we have seen or noticed. He seems to be very alert, so we're not worried about that at this point with him.
So Falco seems like a great cat. What kind of family is going to fit for him?
So because he's listed as patience, some cats, maybe like Pope that we talked about just a few minutes ago, can get a little bit frustrated, but Falco is very patient. So those are good for families with young kids. We don't have any age restrictions or anything like that on Falco. Because he's so patient, he's going to be tolerant with the kids who are learning how to pet, how to handle things along those lines. Also great for first-time cat owners who maybe are not as savvy at reading body language. He's going to give you, he's going to have a higher threshold. He's going to give you a little bit longer before he lets you know, hey, I don't like that. And that's one of the great things about adopting a cat that's an adult as opposed to a kitten, is that you're going to get more of that information. Whereas with kittens, because their personalities are so unset at this point, you don't really know what you're getting in the long term. So if you are interested in meeting with Falco, again, we are doing the online bookings. You can't just show up at the shelter at this point. You need to go to visit fcac.as.me to book that appointment. We do have appointments Monday through Saturday and in the evenings on Wednesdays. Our next cat is Toby, also known as Toby, and he is obviously a gorgeous cat. He is the only cat on the adoption floor, I think, that could rival Pope's Whiskers. He is a beautiful orange tabby, and he is an incredibly affectionate guy. He loves attention. He loves to be held and cuddled. The only time he's a little bit sassy is when you're putting him back he's not ready to be done with his cuddle time. We've also found that he's not a super big fan of vet restraint, but that's not really something that many adopters are going to be dealing with. That's more something that your vet is going to be dealing with. He's playful, he's very curious, and he's still a really young cat. He's about a year old now. He was recently returned to us after being adopted several months ago when he was still an older kitten. And he is definitely a ham. He makes everyone aware of his presence, and it's amazing to me that he's still here because when he was here the first time, he was snapped up really, really quickly.
Toby has some unique characteristics. Can you tell us about those?
So first off, a lot of what kind of garnered him his name, Toby Tobeans, is that Toby is a polydactyl cat, and that's a genetic mutation. They have extra digits on their paws, so he has like little boxing gloves, and they can have a variety of toes, and he just has, some more toes than we've maybe seen typically on a lot of our polydactyl cats. He has these really big, massive feet, and a lot of people like that trait. It's something that you can that the Hemingway cats in Key West are actually really known for. The other thing that sets him apart is that he's not your typical domestic medium hair. He's actually a Manx mix, which is one of the tailless breeds. So depending on how many vertebrae of the tail they have different subnames. But so he's not only does he have extra toes, he's down a tail.
So he also has some restrictions, though. Can you tell us a little bit about his restrictions?
Sure. So first, when Toby was returned, it was because he was not doing well with the new baby in the household. He can get a little bit overstimulated by the young kids in the house, and also because he doesn't seem to be a huge fan of restraint. We are recommending that he go to a home with children 8 and up, just to make sure that everybody's safe and content. When he was here previously, when he was first in our kind of intake area, we noticed that he had a fondness for kind of stalking some of the small animals that we had back there as well. So we're recommending that he probably also not go to a home if you have rabbits and guinea pigs and those types of things, because he may do what all cats are born to do and try to hunt those things. But we did walk a dog by him recently. He didn't have any issues with that, so he should be fine with older kids, other cats, dogs. That shouldn't be a problem for Toby. Again, if you're interested in visiting with him, you can do so by going to visit fcac.as.me. The last cat that we're featuring today is one of our kittens. Kittens typically get adopted very quickly, but for some reason, Puffin has remained. He's about 5 to 6 months old now, and one of the factors that can always lead to a cat having a longer stay is actually their coloring. Black animals in general have a harder time getting adopted because they have less things that make them stand out to the public when they're looking at animals. Also, there's just typically a lot more of them. So just little factors like that can play a role. But Puffin does have some things about him that make him stand out. He's got these great whiskers, and he's just got the one white one, which definitely sets him apart. It's like they're very cute and kind of curl in around his face. So there is something that makes him unique, but there are just so many kittens coming in. It's kitten season, so kittens go on the floor. If they don't get picked up initially, then newer ones come in that are younger, and as they get older, it can be a little bit more challenging for them to find their forever families. But he is a little bit nervous at first, but once he got comfortable in his cage on the adoption floor, he was asking for attention. He's doing the typical, playing with all the other, with the volunteers, playing with his toys, and he's spending a lot of time with the volunteers sitting on laps, and he's been very affectionate with them. So he's going to make a great addition to a household. He should be fine with the other cats. So there's a lot of great things about Puffin if you're looking beyond the fact that he's just an older kitten at this point.
So Puffin had an upper respiratory infection, or what we call a URI. Is that common among shelter cats?
Actually, it's very common. So there's a lot of factors at play. Number one, there's a lot of cats in this environment. So just more cats means more potential illness. And then because they're in a stressful environment where maybe they're not familiar, their immune systems are a little bit more suppressed. And then we have the human factor, right? So volunteers are coming in, visitors are coming in, they're touching them, sometimes not always cleaning their hands like we ask them to do between each cat, so they're spreading germs that way. So it's pretty common. What I always tell people, it's very similar to a cold like you or I would get. So the symptoms are the same sneezing, runny nose, nasal congestion, weepy, watery eye, and we typically treat that with either an antibiotic and an antiviral or just an antibiotic, and typically about 14 days they clear up. And there's not typically any lasting effects. And most of the cats on our adoption floor right now have had this upper respiratory infection. We just always encourage people who are adopting cats that have existing cats to do about a 10-day quarantine with their new animal to prevent, spreading any of those germs to their existing pet once they get home. If you're interested in meeting with Puffin, we do encourage you to make that appointment. Again, that's by going to our booking website, which is visit fcac.as.me. Those appointments are typically 50 minutes long, so you get an opportunity to meet with as many of the animals as you'd like to look around during that 50-minute window. But we would like you to make an appointment and have an appointment for everyone who's visiting in your family. Our last guest today is one of our guinea pigs. Like our small animal room is full with rabbits, we have a ton of guinea pigs as well. Guinea pigs are fun pets. They are capable of doing tricks and bonding with you just like a cat or a dog. A lot of people come to me and they're like, I'm allergic to cats and dogs. I want to get a pet. And I always encourage people to check out the guinea pigs because they are so affectionate. They love human contact. They're very, very social creatures. In fact, in Switzerland, I believe, or Sweden, one of those two countries, it's actually illegal to own one guinea pig because they are so social. They do better in pairs, but Drew is one of our singles right now. He doesn't have any other friends, but is an animal that you could properly introduce to another male guinea pig. We do not spay or neuter any of the small animals, the small rodents, so it's really important to make sure that if you are introducing them to other animals, that you're doing same-sex pairings so that you don't end up with tons of other guinea pigs that then may end up back here in our facility. Guinea pigs do have some special care needs. It's not just throwing them in the cage and kind of leaving them. You want to make sure that you are handling them because, again, they're social, and the more you handle them, the more friendly and affectionate they are. They need to have their Timothy hay every day for part of their food. They also need to have their veggies. We provide them with some carrots, lettuce, sometimes apples, things like that, just to give them a little bit of variety. And they also have a pellet food that they eat. They need to have their exercise time. So there's a lot of things that you want to consider. We encourage anybody who's interested in adopting a guinea pig to do a little bit of research beforehand. Small Angels is a rescue that's local that kind of really does work with guinea pigs. So they have a lot of great resources on their website, and PetSmart also has a ton of resources on their website of things that you need to do, things that you need to have in terms of cages and how big they should be so that you can be really prepared when you're adding one of these guys to your family.
In addition to our facility, where else can you visit shelter guinea pigs or small animals?
Sure. We have Drew and a couple others, some bonded guinea pigs here at our facility, but we have also been doing partnering with the North Frederick PetSmart on Osprey Way. And so right now we have several guinea pigs that are at that facility. All of the same adoption procedures apply, so the same application, the same adoption fee, but you're just able to visit them there. And we've been adopting animals there pretty quickly because more people go to that type of facility to look for small animals. Right now we just have guinea pigs there, but we've also placed rats, mice, those types of animals in that facility, and it's been a relationship that's been working pretty well. So if you're interested in small animals, again, you have two places you can look. You can go to that North Frederick PetSmart and check out some of our guinea pigs there. You can also come here to our facility. Any of those animals are going to be adopted for a fee of $15 for two. If you're getting the bonded pair, you kind of get a deal at 2 for $15 or $10 individually. We want to thank you for tuning into this episode of Pet Pals and meeting some of our amazing adoptable pets. Again, if you haven't seen anything that you were interested on today's show, there's tons more animals here looking for forever homes, and you can sign up to visit any of those animals by going to our booking website, which is visit fcac.as.me.